Hello, everyone, and welcome to the fourth installment of our trustee training. We will be covering budget and finance today. All of these trainings are being recorded and they will be placed on the State Library YouTube channel. They will also be in the State Library Niche Academy, and they will be also on the Library Board of Trustees LibGuide. So to get to the LibGuides, there is a link above the search bar on the State Library homepage. There is also a button further down on the page. They're arranged by subject, so select Library Boards and Public Library Board of Trustees. So who am I? Hello, my name is Monica Struck. I am the Public Library Specialist at the State Library. However, I am not a lawyer, so anytime I talk about Century Code, this is my, honest faith interpretation. This webinar is not legal advice. Please consult your local legal counsel with relevant questions. A further disclaimer, since we are talking about financial matters, I am, not a financial planner. The last math class I took, I was a senior in high school. This webinar is not financial advice, but please consult with your auditor or a financial expert with relevant questions. And a final disclaimer, every city and county does things a little bit differently. I am not here today to tell you that you are doing things wrong. I will speak in generalities so that you can just get some good basic information. If you, are not sure if you are doing something right, you can always ask me. And again, I will give my best effort to steer you in the right direction, but I am not a legal professional, nor am I a financial professional. So we will muddle on together, and we're all doing the best we can. So the agenda, we will start off talking a little bit about Century Code and what it says about library finance. We will touch on budgeting, and then we will go a little bit more in depth as to sources of funding. So the library fund is touched on in two places in Century Code. 403802 deals with the establishment of the library fund, and it, basically states that the library fund is, its own thing. Monies that aren't expended don't devolve back to the general fund, it stays in the library fund. And then 403804 is the duties of the library board. And number 3 deals specifically with budget. And it states to control expenditures of all monies collected for the library fund. So how this looks practically, it varies a lot from library to library, but generally the board will approve the budget and it sets policy involved in expending the budget. The director is responsible for staying within the set budget, and the director provides financial reports to show how the budget is being expended, and then the board adjusts budget and policies as needed. So budgeting, it's, generally budgeting, you're going to look at the money that you're bringing in and then try to plan for the money that is going to be going out. And, a quick note, which I, really wasn't aware of before I started, looking at the previous presentations. Libraries are not actual nonprofits. And the main difference difference comes in where the funding comes from, so the revenues. A nonprofit is generally run on donations and grants and things of that nature. Libraries receive donations and grants, but we also get money from the government. So technically not a nonprofit, even though libraries don't exist, to make a ton of money. So interesting fact as we go into budgeting. And I just want to, okay. Sorry, my mouse has been double clicking a bunch of times and I wanted to make sure I didn't skip a slide. So budget cycle for libraries in North Dakota. Generally, the library director creates a draft budget. This can be done in conjunction with a committee on the board. It can be done, with library staff, but generally the draft budget is coming from the library director. Then the library board, suggests changes if necessary, and eventually approves the budget. And once approved, the budget will go to the city council or the city commission, county commission, whatever the governing board is. And they will either approve or reject the budget. So if they reject it, it goes back to the library board, you make the tweaks, and then you send it back. Once it's approved, that is the budget for the library for the year. Generally, the budget is going to be a line item budget. You'll take, your anticipated revenues and you'll balance it against what you're going to need to spend. The set costs are going to be your utilities, the salaries and benefits. Where there's a bit more wiggle room is, the materials budget. If you get less money, you can't have less people necessarily, but you can buy fewer materials. You can spend less on programming and supplies. Those are the ones that tend to be a bit more flexible. And bear in mind, budgets should be living documents, because no matter how beautiful a budget you have crafted and gotten approved, the boiler is going to go out. There's going to be, a catastrophic flood that you couldn't plan for. These things happen, and odds are you're going to have to, sometimes exciting things happen too, like the library will get a big grant, but it's a matching grant or it's a reimbursement grant. So you have to spend the money before, you get it back. And so you never know when, the budget is going to get thrown for a loop. So going into it, knowing that what you say you're going to, how you say you're going to divide up the money may not be how it looks at the end of the year. But as long as you are staying, within your revenues, you're good. Now we'll touch a little bit on sources of funding. There are 5 places generally where libraries in North Dakota will get their money. We get money through the mill levy, state aid to public libraries, grants, fundraising, and friends and foundations. So what exactly is a mill? A mill is 1/1000th of a property taxable valuation. And taxable value is 4.5% of the true and full value of the property. So all libraries in North Dakota are funded through property taxes. Property taxes are where libraries get a majority of their funding. And a quick word on home rule. North Dakota allows for cities and counties to have a bit more control over local ordinance and cities and counties that have adopted home rule charters have the ability to raise local taxes. And it also gives a little bit of freedom as to the structure of the library board. If you are curious whether your community is home rule, or if you're not sure, or you want to, take a peek at the charter, happy to help you out with that. A note about home rule, that any tweaks made to the charter need to be approved by majority vote of the qualified electors. So something to keep in mind if you want to use your home rule charter to make tweaks to library board makeup, there is that hurdle to go through. All right, so the next item on the list, state aid to public libraries. So this is a fund that the state library receives from the legislature just to give to public libraries. It is laid out in Century Code 54-24.2. And eligibility, libraries need to first apply for state aid. If they don't submit the application, we cannot give them funds. They need to be following the law as laid out in 40-38. They need to participate in interlibrary loan, and they have to submit an annual report, and that is the Public Library Survey. Funds received through state aid are not related to the library standards or to library vision grants. So state aid is a completely separate thing. So something to bear in mind. So that grant formula is also laid out in 54-24.2. And so this can be used to ballpark what you may receive in state aid. So it's $1 or percentage thereof for each person residing in the city or county operating or providing financial support for the public library. And that is based on the latest official census. So that would be the 2020 census. And then $5 per square mile or percentage thereof of the land within the geographical boundaries of each county operating or providing financial support for a public library. So again, you can go and math this out if you want to, but bear in mind, it would be likely a high estimate because unfortunately, state aid to public libraries isn't fully funded, so we can't give what every library should be getting as per the grant formula. So there is some redistribution magic that happens behind the scenes, just so that the state library stays within what we are able to give out. And the libraries who are eligible are still, receiving funds. So if you're working on a budget and you want to be able to ballpark what you may get, you can follow this grant formula. Keep in mind it's a ballpark and it may be high depending on what is actually awarded. Okay, so grants. Grants are, money that are monies given out by, organizations, state entities, city entities. Sometimes they have strings attached. Like earlier, I was talking about matching grants. That would mean the library needs to kick in an equal amount of money as to what they're getting from that organization. Reimbursement grants, you have to spend the money before you get money back. There are 1.5 million different places to look for grants. We do have a LibGuide resource for librarians interested in finding grants to apply for. They're a marvelous way to get extra funds for special projects like starting a new collection. The state library gives out grants. We call them Library Vision Grants. They are administered by the North Dakota Library Coordinating Council. We are switching up, kind of the general formula. We used to, kind of have theme grants, I guess. So a grant to start a new collection, a grant to, purchase tablets for, for patron use, things like that. But we're trying more general grants. So we have a library vision document that's updated every 5 years, so like a strategic plan. And so we're having libraries, choose a project, any project, define where it falls in the goals of the Library Coordinating Council, and and diving in. So we're trying an open-ended grant. It is open for applications right now. So, exciting. But the library vision grants, those are funded through money that we receive through the legislature also. Best practices for grants, I would say, be thorough and concise. It seems kind of, an oxymoron, but it's, the best way I can describe grant writing, because you want to be sure that you've written down everything, that they're asking for, but you also don't want to turn in a 500-page grant because no one's going to read that. We do have staff at the state library who assist with grant applications. So if your library is trying for a grant, any grant, not just a state library grant, we're happy to help look through materials. Fundraising and sponsorships. This is going to your local businesses and saying, hey, do you want to help buy prizes for summer reading? The kind of door-to-door, down home, quick money gathering. I would say from what I've heard, the local communities are very supportive of the libraries, and and the libraries try not to hit up their local businesses too much, but they generally have, kind of a rotation, I think, a schedule of when they go out and ask for money. And friends and foundations are the last source of funding that I'll talk about. So friends groups and foundations exist solely to help the library fund projects. So the friends groups are, more likely to be hosting the book sales, the bake sales. They'll do, I don't know, like the PTA type stuff, the little fundraisers. And then foundations are there, for the big donations. Someone leaves a bequest, foundation would likely handle that. Both friends and foundations tend to be 501c3s, so nonprofit, and they and this allows people who donate money to the friends group or the foundations to get a tax write-off for that donation. And if any of your libraries do not currently have a friends group or a foundation and you're interested in setting one up, I do have resources for that. I'm happy to help you get a group off the ground. All right, and I will open up the floor for questions. You can unmute, put things in the chat. Yes.
So I had a question going back to the state aid, I think. With the $5 per square mile, if we are just a city library, does it still go by county?
I don't believe so. Since since the county is not submitting money, I don't believe the $5 per square mile would apply in the
Okay.
case of a city library.
Does it just go then to the outskirts of the city, or then do you just totally ignore the $5 per square mile thing?
I believe the $5 per square mile thing is completely off the table if the county itself isn't supplying money. But
Okay.
don't quote me on that.
All right, I won't.
Any other questions?
I have one more question about the friends group too.
Yeah.
Is that something that's usually started by the director, or is it usually started by like a strong volunteer? How, like what, how do you
I
usually set that up?
I would say it's usually spearheaded by the by a volunteer. Someone wants to start it up. Um, just because the library director has a lot of demands on their time. Not that they couldn't start the friends group, but if they started it, I wouldn't recommend that they take on a leadership role, just from a time suck standpoint.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, and you guys can still ask questions if you have them. I'm just going to advance the slide to the contact information. You can reach me at my email or phone just about any time. And if you miss me, I'll call you back or email you back in pretty short order. Danny Capel is my supervisor. You can reach her with questions as well. And Mary Susie, our state librarian, has a lot of public library knowledge and library board experience. And so she is a fountain of knowledge as well. Though I will say, in the craziness of the legislature right now, you are way more likely to reach me than either of them. So bear that in mind. Any other questions?
I don't have any. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, no problem, Anne. You have a good day.
You too. Thank you.
Yeah, take care, everyone. I'll give you 15 minutes of your Friday back.
Thanks, Monica.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a good weekend.
Yeah, bye.